Nepal, the holy land for thousands of Hindus, offers a wide variety of wonders. The country's great history of culture and arts date back to ancient times. Nepali arts have been highly influenced by religion, social conditions, political climate, natural disasters, and others. Each year, tourists from different parts of the world visit Nepal to get a glimpse of the vibrant essence of culture, religion, and art. The oldest evidence of Nepali art dates back to the 4th century of the Lichchavi period, which is also known as Golden Age of Nepali art. The beauty of Nepal has also influenced the subject of arts. Religious, mystical, and symbolic figures and elements can be seen in historical sculptures and artworks. Besides that, Western culture and practices also inspired artwork. Impressionism, Expressionism, Fauvism, Abstractionism are various forms of artwork found in the nook and corners of this country. Here, art is also used as a metaphorical symbol with hidden meanings to relay messages to people. Architectural buildings and structures, wooden carvings, mandala, manuscripts, painting, are some major art forms. Some Western influences have influenced modern artists, but Nepali art remains rooted in the local culture. One example of such form of art is the Nepalese mask. Traditional masks of Nepal can be divided into two sorts. The tribal masks, which belong to the ethnic groups such as Gurung, Magar, Faru, Rai etc., and which are also referred to as shamans' masks, and classical masks, which represent Hindu and Buddhist gods and goddesses. The classical Nepali masks always represent deities or demons and never the dead or the ancestors. Besides, masks are more often used in processions and in rituals rather than in theatrical performances.
If anybody are interested to see the masks manufacturing, they have to go to Bhaktapur, which is one of the antique as well as cultural city of entire Nepal, not only Kathmandu. Nowadays, due to the growing influence of what I can say like modernism, globalization or whatever, it is really difficult for local people to preserve their ancient art, culture, history, craftsmanship and so on. But people who are living in Bhaktapur are doing really well for preserving their, craftsmanship and everything else. So you have to go to Bhaktapur to see it. And Newara people are quite expert on it. You might be confused about what is Newara. Though Nepal is small in size, there are about 100 different ethnicities of people living in this country. Out of that 100 different ethnicities, Newara is one ethnicity who have been living in this Kathmandu Valley since 2,500 years. So they are something like aboriginal people of this Kathmandu Valley. So that particular group of people are very expert on that sort of marks, craftsmanship. So you have to go to Bhaktapur for that.
There are three categories of masks. First, masks representing faces of gods which are worn by performers during ritual dances. A second category, masks which serve as ornamental motifs for decorating a temple, a chariot during a procession or a vase used as a ritual object. A third category includes masks in metal or stone representing faces of deities that are worshipped like statues. They are called statue masks. The metal used for making them is silver, brass, or bronze. These masks are often decorated with jewels, and when not worshipped they are kept in a wooden box inside the temple. The masks which are used in ritual dances are made of such materials as papier-mâché or wood plastered with clay and linen, and are painted in lively colors. So, such masks are never old as they can't survive long in such climate. Besides, according to tradition, many masks are supposed to be destroyed after use and be remade the following year. The oldest known Nepali masks date from the 17th century. The deities represented by masks are numerous: Shiva, Bhairava, Ganesh, Kumari, Varhi, Durga, Lakshmi, Sima and Duma. These last two are said to be popular names for lion and tiger. Some people explain that these two masks are a couple, the white-faced Sima being the male, the others think they are two goddesses. The masks are made ritually by members of the caste of painters in Bhaktapur. The images have to be made in accordance with the prescriptions laid down in local manuals of iconography. It is impossible for a painter to break the rules for the painting of a religious image. If the rules are not respected, a deity can become a demoniacal force. There are a considerable number of books of iconographic drawings. One of the earliest is from the first half of the 15th century. The masks are made of clay mixed with bits of cotton and a gum-like paste made from wheat flour. The clay mask forms are left to dry on the molds for about 4 days. Later the masks are painted. Each color has a certain significance. Red is associated with anger, blue-black with energy and power, white with purity and death. Previously only vegetable and mineral colors were used. Now the painters use mainly chemical colors. All the masks have a third eye, a mark on the forehead, and headgears. It can be large earrings, a crown, hair nets or a headband. Masks are considered lifeless until ceremonies of consecration and installation are performed. These masks have been very little studied. Most of the masks are made of wood and are of human dimensions. In contrast with classical masks, the tribal mask maker it seems had more liberty of expression and could use his imagination more freely. In Nepal, the ideal place to check and shop different form of masks is the Mel Bazaar. Thamel is one of the largest markets in Kathmandu, covering a large area of the city. During the hippie era, when many artists traveled to Nepal to spend weeks in Thamel, this neighborhood has served as the nerve center of the city's tourism business. With large buildings and dazzles of streetlights, Thamel's congested, winding alleyways are a hallmark of the neighborhood. Food, fresh vegetables, baked goods, hiking gear, walking gear, music, DVDs, handicrafts, souvenirs, woolen items, and clothing are some of the most often sold commodities. In addition to typical retail establishments, such as department shops and supermarkets, one may find travel agents, hostels, restaurants, bars, and nightclubs. It's not uncommon to see hundreds of people sharing the tight streets with cars, cycle rickshaws, two-wheelers, and taxis. But what makes the market stand out from the rest of Nepal is its exquisite art shops. From the antiques to the modern Nepali dresses, from the thankas to the kukris, Thamel is the hub house of all these items. Most of these items are handcrafted. They show the artistic splendor and the beauty of perfections. The thankas are considered to be some of the most prized items here. Thanka paintings are ancient Nepal art paintings. These religious paintings were commonly used as icons in worship and are also known as thanka in Tibetan and paba in Nuari. The illuminated wall paintings were in great demand and skilled artisans painted it on cloth which was then rolled up and transported. Nepali thanka art made their way into homes and monasteries. The mandala of Vishnu is the earliest Nepali thanka art. The early thankas have centrally positioned large deities surrounded by smaller figures and a simple design. The influence of the tantric cult started to appear in Nepali art paintings from the 15th century. Brighter colors and the portrayal of Shiva and Shakti in various poses got common in later years. Tantrism puts a strong emphasis on the female element and sexuality which is evident in Nepali art paintings of these times. According to mythologies, the thankas possessed magical forces with a lot of religious symbols in the artwork. Paintings were mainly done in manuscripts, wood, walls, cloth, or metal plates. Plants, minerals, and soil were the main sources of colors for these paintings. Mitila paintings in the walls of homes in the Terai region are some examples of great Nepali art paintings. These days canvas paintings influenced by Western culture are more popular. Mr. Arjun Shrestha is the owner of the Lapis Thanka and Art Gallery shop. It is one of the most well-known Thanka shops in Thamel Bazaar. He showed some of the most notable Thankas in his shop.
This is for the 2,500. This is what says price is going to be same. This is for the Sakyamuni Buddha, and there is a touch of this land. It is positioned for like that. It's a peace Buddhas for this. It's a helping God and long life. That is why.
All are hand drawn, right?
All is a hand draw. This color never fade. This never fade, never change color for those kind of. Even by sun, the problem for those.
To get a proper idea about the Thankas, having a proper idea about the Hindu mythology is important. Nepalese art painting originated from manuscript illustrations found on palm leaves. Astasahasrika Prajnaparamita in 1015 AD is the earliest known illustrated manuscript in Nepal. Religion has an incredible impact on such manuscripts and they are usually decorated with mythical figures of divinities. All illustrations have images of gods and goddesses whether they are Buddhist or Hindu in origin. You can find them in monasteries or temples. Thus the painting quality gets maintained for a long time and the style of painting remains fairly constant. Hence, older Nepali art paintings are held in higher regard than more modern manuscripts. Apart from the Thankas, one cannot miss the incredible Nepali sculptures on sale in Thamel. Some of these products are handcrafted while the other ones are machine-made. Sculpture arts is one of the finest traditions of Nepal. Many carved sculptures were religious and revolved around the depiction of various deities. The Lichchavi period gave birth to many beautiful sculptures. Stone, copper, and bronze get used in making these sculptures and depict round faces and slanted eyes with a lot of attention to detail. The use of clothing and ornaments were a minimum. The golden age of Nepalese sculpture was the Lichchavi period and some examples of these eras can still get found. Bronze, sandstone, granite, limestone, were generally used for sculpting gods and kings. Handicraft items such as these are made in the outskirts of Nepal. However, only a part of the Nepali population has taken such works as the means for their daily bread. In trying to increase agricultural production and diversify the agricultural base, the government focused on irrigation, the use of fertilizers and insecticides, the introduction of new implements and new seeds of high-yield varieties, and the provision of credit. The lack of distribution of these inputs, as well as problems in obtaining supplies, however, inhibited progress. Although land reclamation and settlement were occurring in the Terai region, environmental degradation and ecological imbalance resulting from deforestation also prevented progress. Rice is the most important cereal crop. In 1966, total rice production amounted to a little more than 1 million tons. By 1988, approximately 3.9 million hectares of land were under paddy cultivation.
The strongest contributor in our economy is agriculture as well. Though Nepal is a small country, we do have huge variation in climate. So we have a very cold temperature, we have moderate temperature, we do have a very hot temperature as well. So we can produce anything else based on agriculture. But what we produced in this country is not sufficient even for us. So we have been depending on like import based economy as well. But still agriculture contribute something significant in our economy, and rest of other are service sector, tourism and so on.
Food crops included wheat, millet, barley, and coffee, but their contribution to the agricultural sector was small. Sugarcane and tobacco also showed considerable increases in production from the 1970s to the 1980s. Medicinal herbs were grown in the north on the slopes of the Himalayas, but increases in production were limited by continued environmental degradation. Although new agricultural technologies helped increase food production, there still was room for further growth. Past experience indicated bottlenecks, however, in using modern technology to achieve a healthy growth. The conflicting goals of producing cash crops both for food and for industrial inputs also were problematic. Forests play a crucial role in the economic life of Nepal, where almost 90% of the nation's 22 million inhabitants live in rural areas and depend heavily on subsistence agriculture. For these people, sustainable management of natural resources is essential for continued well-being. Rural inhabitants rely on forests for food, fodder, fuelwood, fertilizers, building materials, and medicinal plants. Other than that, most of the handcraft items of Nepal comes from the forest woods. Most of the sculptures in Tamil are wooden. Sculpture art carries one of the finest traditions of Nepal. Many of the carved sculptures here are religious and revolved around the depiction of various deities. Tamil Bazaar is full of such sculptures and other artworks. For an art enthusiast, there are ample options for wandering and finding new things in the nooks and corners. They would also appreciate the old buildings at almost each turn. The constructions carry the signatures of Nepalese architecture all over them. Tibetan and Nepali ladies are known for their love of oversized jewelry. This necklace is lovely, but its rough edges and natural appearance make it less than perfect. This jewelry, upon closer inspection, is clearly handmade rather than machine-made. The history of making Nepalese jewelry is crucial to fully appreciate its intricate design and skilled craftsmanship. Tibet is home to a large population of skilled jewelry makers, and many of them have relocated to Nepal. As the Chinese invaded Tibet in the 1950s, they were forced to flee to neighboring Nepal. Now, in Nepal, their descendants carry on the ancient art of producing Tibetan jewelry. Furthermore, it's often women rather than males that create this traditional jewelry. Jewelry plays a significant role in Tibetan and Nepalese culture for both practical and aesthetic reasons. Certain pieces of Tibetan and Nepalese jewelry are worn as amulets because of the belief that the metals and stones used in their creation each have special characteristics. Although gold is seldom seen in Nepalese jewelry, other precious metals like copper and silver are used. The amount of metal utilized to create most pieces of Nepalese jewelry makes them fairly hefty. In many cases, the purchase of such jewelry is based on weight alone. Most pieces of Nepali jewelry include turquoise or coral as their primary stones. The sky and the water are both represented by the color turquoise. Lapis lazuli, tiger's eye, garnet, and agate are some of the other stones often used in Nepali jewelry. Jewelers have earned a good name all around. The pandemic has continuously been reasons for worry for the gemstone traders. Abid is a gemstone and jewelry shop owner in Pokhara. His has come from Srinagar in India to start his business here. Having a good variety in his shops, Abid currently struggles to keep his business in proper flow.
If you talk about the business nowadays, the trading, actually it's not like a good now, because after COVID we don't have that much customers here. As you saw here also, from the 3.5 years we don't have customers here, so less customers now, so we don't have good business here now. Before it was good, before COVID a lot of tourists are here, so we have a good business that time. But now,
So number of tourists are increasing post-COVID?
yeah, increased, but mostly not like before COVID we have customers not like that. Mostly like Chinese customers came here. Nowadays no Chinese customers are here, and other European customers also not coming that much. Only less customers are coming here, so our business, like you can say, like
Undulating.
yeah, we just pay the rents, eat food, like that. It's not that much we have a profit. We don't. Before that we have a business. We say business, we earn something. We just try to manage it now, so that the time comes and our business will run nicely.
Surely.
Crafting jewelry is an ancient art form with a deep and varied history among the people of Nepal and Tibet. The jewelry worn in Nepal and Tibet is more than just a fashion accessory, it also has a spiritual significance. Thamel is the one-stop market for all these jewelries, masks, sculptures, thankas and more. According to the local people here, the market has a vibe that is totally different from any other market in Eastern South Asia. But the splendor of art is not only present only here, but in the architectures of Nepal as well. The wooden windows and doors of a temple, the stupa's complex geometry, are all great examples of architecture. Architectural art in religious sites or historical areas are common in Nepal. The architecture of Nepal depicts the culture and essence of the time period of Nepal's history. Cultural tourists and scholars arrive in the country for traditional Nepalese architecture. The Nepalese architectural designs seen in various cities of Kathmandu Valley including Kathmandu, Bhaktapur, Lalitpur are listed by UNESCO as World Heritage Sites. Nepal's architecture is broadly divided into three types, namely pagoda style, stupa style, and shikara style. This pagoda style is one of the most common Nepalese architectural styles that have broad eaves held up by carved wood struts. The triangular spire roof has upside-down bells made out of gold plating. Windows on the pagoda-style structure protrude and latticed. The pagoda style was then borrowed by China and later spread through Asia. Among the places where the remains of ancient Nepalese architectures are still seen, the 4 Darbar squares are worth mentioning. Kathmandu Durbar Square, or the Basantapur Durbar Kshetra, is located in front of the old royal palace of the former Kathmandu kingdom and is one of 3 Durbar, or the royal palace squares in the Kathmandu Valley in Nepal, all of which are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Several buildings in the square collapsed due to a major earthquake on April 25, 2015. Durbar Square was surrounded with spectacular architecture and vividly showcases the skills of the newer artists and craftsmen over several centuries. The royal palace was originally at Dadaraya Square and was later moved to the Durbar Square. The Kathmandu Durbar Square held the palaces of the Mullah and Shah kings who ruled over the city. Along with these palaces, the square surrounds quadrangles, revealing courtyards and temples. It is known as Hanuman Doka Durbar Square, a name derived from a statue of Hanuman, the monkey devotee of Lord Ram, at the entrance of the palace. The preference for the construction of royal palaces at this site dates back to as early as the Lichavi period in the 3rd century. Even though the present palaces and temples have undergone repeated and extensive renovations and nothing physical remains from that period. Names like Gunapo and Gupa, which are the names referred to the palaces in the square in early scriptures, imply that the palaces were built by Gunakamadev, a king ruling late in the 10th century. When Kathmandu city became independent under the rule of King Ratna Mullah, the palaces in the square became the royal palaces for its Mullah kings. When Prithvi Narayan Shah invaded the Kathmandu valley in 1769, he favored the Kathmandu Durbar Square for his palace. Other subsequent Shah kings continued to rule from the square until 1896 when they moved to the Narayan Haitai Palace. Though there are no written archives stating the history of Kathmandu Durbar Square, construction of the palace in the square is credited to Sankaradeva as the first king of the independent Kathmandu city. The oldest temples in the square are those built by Mahendra Mullah. They are the temples of Jagannath, Kodalingeswara Mahadev, Mahendraswara, and the Talaju Temple. This 3-roofed Talaju Temple was established in 1564, in a typical Nuari architectural style and is elevated on platforms that form a pyramid-like structure. It is said that Mahendra Mullah, when he was residing in Bhaktapur, was highly devoted to the Talaju Temple there. The goddess, being pleased with his devotion, gave him a vision asking him to build a temple for her in the Kathmandu Durbar Square. With the help of a hermit, he designed the temple to give it its present form, and the goddess entered the temple in the form of a bee. Kathmandu's Durbar Square is the site of the Hanuman Doka Palace complex, which was the royal Nepalese residence until the 19th century and where important ceremonies, such as the coronation of the Nepalese monarch, took place. The palace is decorated with elaborately carved wooden windows and panels and houses the King Tribhuvan Memorial Museum and the Mahendra Museum. It is possible to visit the state rooms inside the palace. Time and again the temples and the palaces in the square have gone through reconstruction after being damaged by natural causes or neglect. Presently there are less than 10 quadrangles in the square. The temples are being preserved as national heritage sites and the palace is being used as a museum. Only a few parts of the palace are open for visitors and the Talaju temples are only open for people of Hindu and Buddhist faiths. At the southern end of Durbar Square is one of the most curious attractions in Nepal, the Kumari Chowk. This gilded cage contains the Raj Kumari, a girl chosen through an ancient and mystical selection process to become the human incarnation of the Hindu mother goddess, Durga. She takes a tour of the city during the festival of Indra Jatra. During these festivals she is carried around from place to place in her chariot. She also makes public appearances during few other festivals, otherwise her devotees can visit and worship her for a fee paid to her guards. It is said doom is upon you if she refuses to let you worship her. Wood carving is a very prominent aspect of Nepalese architecture. Nepalese artwork also influenced other cultures when in the 7th century AD, Mahayana Buddhism got introduced in Tibet under the king Angshu Varma. Various monasteries had sculptures as well. Wood carving is a very integral part of Nepali art and culture that served a decorative purpose in ancient Nepal. Doors, windows, temples, roof struts, and others were all carved by hand in the old temples and palaces of Kathmandu Valley. Wood is not long-lasting as stone, so these wood carving arts do not date back further than the 14th century. In Nepal, new artistic creations are being created every day, be it the large shrines or statues, or the masks and daggers. But there are signs of destructions amidst these creations too. Matapani Monastery is situated in the Kundahar area of Pokhara in Kaski district. It stands on top of a small green hill, east of Pokhara city, about 5 kilometers from Mahendrapal. The monastery was established in 1960 AD by Naishang people who had migrated to Pokhara from Manang. The everyday ritual of prayer of the monks residing there is a very rare scene for visitors. If you get a chance to make friends and get close to the monks there, you might get an invitation to their ritual. The prayer is held in the Grand Hall of Gumba several times a day. Besides the everyday prayer, they also hold a special ritual that lasts for the entire day. One would be awed by the intricate interior of the Matapani Gumba with graceful colors in the painting that symbolizes and represents different instances of Buddha's life and various stories that form up Buddhist religion. The magnificent statue of Lord Buddha and other statues of about 11 foot tall would surely catch your eye. But in the year 2015, Nepal experienced a severe earthquake that resulted total destruction of the main monastery. This was the same earthquake that claimed the lives of 9,000 people. More than 600,000 structures in Kathmandu and nearby areas were severely damaged or demolished, Matapani Monastery being one of them. Now there is only ruin at the top of the construction. While the lamas here are still in reconciling with the catastrophe, a new shrine is on making nearby. Nepal's artistic influence spread when Nepalese artisans were then sent to Chinese emperors to educate local craftsmen and create artworks. The Nepalese stupas are one of the examples here. Stupa style is a Nepalese architectural style used in the construction of Buddhist shrines and based on Buddhist concepts. A hemispherical structure mounted over a square base is a stupa style. 13 rings get layered on top of each other over a strong base. It goes narrow over top and there is a parasol that tops it all off. The square bases are also known as harmika and have pairs of eyes painted on each side. UNESCO World Heritage Sites like Swayambhu Shrine and Buddhanath are exquisite stupa-style architectures. The 4 stupas in Patan commissioned by King Ashoka are of great cultural importance. Nepal is a cultural melting pot. Its arts date back to ancient times, having a close affinity with the nature. The natural beauty of Nepal has a deep imprint on its different artistic creations. Religion, social conditions, political climate, all of these has influenced Nepalese art for a long time. Paintings, masks, sculptures, wood carving, and architecture of Nepal speak of the long-nurtured beliefs and faiths of the people. The freedom amidst the natural plain, simple lifestyle and honest reflection of the self. The people in Nepal are enriched with all these values. Finding reflections of these positive approaches in life is not hard here. Besides that, local songs, traditional musical instruments, and traditional dances are also a part of Nepali art. From the lanes of Kathmandu to the streets of Thamel, from the wide paths of Durbar squares to the mountain ranges of Pokhara, the grains of artistic expression are scattered everywhere. Picking them up only requires some little effort for those who dedicated their lives in it.